What's up everyone, welcome back to the Hardcore Fab Shop. On today's video we're going to be assembling our 6-liter LS motor for our hookers and blow build. Started it off by just doing a simple teardown on it, and I got it down to the point where there's a crank left in it, cam bearings, and that's pretty much about it. So that was a pretty simple teardown. I'll just go ahead and throw you up a time lapse of that real fast, and then we'll get to putting this thing together. Alright, so before we get into this real far here, I want to just throw out right off the bat that I am not an official engine builder by any way, shape, or form. And you also should not probably follow along with anything that I do, because nothing that I do I am claiming to be the right way to do it. Now, having that said, I am sharing this with you guys not to try to talk you into doing something one way or another, but to try to inform you guys of what I have done, because I know once the truck's all running and everything's all together, there's going to be people asking questions about exactly what's done to the motor, and rightfully so, I get that, and I want to be able to have, that to be able to share with everyone so that you guys can use that info to your advantage however you choose fit. So you can take it or you can leave it, you can know why it works or why it don't work or whatever the case is. This is, like I said, a 6-liter LS engine, and I know nothing about it, so I wanted to go ahead and tear it down as far as I could to be able to check it out and get a better idea of what it is exactly that I'm working with here. And as it's going along here, everything is looking pretty good. This is a LQ4 engine. It did have cast iron heads on it. That makes it probably, I believe, a 1999 or a 2000 year model, because I believe those were the only years that actually had the cast iron heads. So now that you guys are caught up on how we got to this point, it's time to start assembling this thing. So at this point, I've cleaned up the engine, I've checked the rod bearings, I've checked the cam bearings, and I've also checked out the cylinder walls. Everything is looking pretty decent, so I don't really feel like I need to pop the main caps off. I think everything there is going to be good to go too, and I'd like to try to retain that factory torque specs if I can on that, because I think that's going to actually be better than anything I'd be able to do. So my ultimate goals here with this engine are to make the most power as possible, of course, and then to also be able to do it and have it be reliable, but also cheap. So, or at least as cheap as I possibly can anyways. And that's the reason why I started out with a 6-liter LS, because they're known to be a powerhouse and also reliable and obviously about as cheap as they come. You can do a 5.3 or 4.8, they're a little bit cheaper, but get a little more power out of the 6-liter, so that's where we got. Now, one of the major problems that you're going to have when you throw a boost to one of these engines is going to be the ring gap. And you want to have the ring gap set a little bit bigger than what you would on a regular stock engine for boost, because if you don't, they get a little bit warm and they end up binding up and popping the top off the piston. And we don't want to have that happen on our drive to Vegas. So what I'm doing here is I'm gapping all those out. I'm setting everything at 30. And I think we'll be ready to rock and roll after I get those done. Unfortunately, I'm doing it all by hand with a little hand crank grinder over here. Kind of sucks a little bit, and it takes a little bit of time, but no big deal. We're getting her done. Well, we've got the motor all cleaned up, we've got the pistons cleaned up, and we've got the rings gapped, so it's time to reassemble all this stuff. Pretty simple process. I'm just putting a little bit of oil on my fingers, rubbing it all over the rings, and then I'm literally just putting the rings on with my fingers. Yes, I know they sell a pretty cool little tool that'll separate the rings out enough where you can just slide them right on. And no, I don't have one. So, I told you earlier, I'm not a professional engine builder. I don't want to be, so no sense in having all those tools. And I know some of you will be yelling at me saying you also need a spring compressor instead of using a screwdriver, but it's what I've got and it works. And all I have to say to that is yes, I know I could go buy a $30 ring compressor, and yes, I know I could get the little pliers for like $10 or whatever. And I don't have those, that's right, but I do have a blower. So, hey, got to pick your battle somewhere, and I've already picked mine, so I guess we'll see how it turns out. Well, it's cam time, and for a cam, I've got a Brian Tooley Stage 2 truck cam. It's obviously not the biggest, craziest thing out there by far, but it's definitely going to be better than stock, and I got a pretty good deal on it, so that's what we're putting in the truck. I'm gonna go ahead and loop this thing up, slide her in, and then we can get the front back on our motor. Well, that never gets old to look at for sure right there. I am loving that. That is awesome. Now, I still have to do some valve springs on here, but they're still supposedly like a week out before I get them. So I'm not going to do that for you guys on video, I guess. I'll just do that and slap the heads on later. But you guys get the gist of what's going on now with the motor and what I've got in here. I am going to put you guys a parts list of everything that I've done here in the description below so that you guys can go find all of that stuff. The high volume oil pump that I put in there, the cam. I'll go ahead and show you guys the cam card right now so you can have all the numbers on it. I will also get you guys the part number for the matching valve springs for the cam. And I also did put in, or I am going to put in, new head gaskets when I bolt the heads on. I think with our boost scenario, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and do that. I've had pretty good luck with reusing a lot of gaskets on these motors, so, you know, guy might be able to get away with that, but I figured in my circumstances with it having the blower on there and with it going to SEMA and stuff, I don't want it puking oil out all over the place, so I went ahead and got a new timing chain gasket, or timing chain cover gasket, and an oil pan gasket. It's got a new front sill in it too, but the new front sill is actually because of this balancer. So this balancer is a pretty sweet balancer. It's from Innovators West, and that's going to allow us to actually bolt up our pulley for our belt to run our blower and still have a balancer, so that's pretty cool. It is just a pressed on deal. I had video of it, but I guess I deleted it. I don't know. So anyways, just pressed it on. Not that big of a deal. But since these motors do not have a keyway in there, and it's just a press fit balancer, I am going to have to pin it. So that's probably what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna pull this stuff back off of here because it's not bolted down. I don't wanna have it falling on the floor while I'm drilling on it, but I need to go ahead and pin this balancer to the crank so that we'll be able to put our pulley on and run that belt. Oh, I almost forgot about talking about the aluminum heads up here now instead of the old cast iron ones that came on this block. These are some 706 heads that I picked up used. They're kind of a middle of the ground, middle of the road type head. They definitely aren't the worst thing out there, but there's some other ones out there that are better. But since they're kind of the middle of the road type of deal, they're pretty budget friendly. So you can find these about anywhere and the price is right, usually on them. So I picked these up. They look like they're in pretty good shape. And once I get the valve springs on there, they should be able to just bolt right on and go. I don't think I'm gonna have to do a valve job or nothing on them. Should be good. So while we're talking about heads, there's something that I like to do personally that I think is kind of fun. So people that like to talk trash or haters or whatever you want to call them love to look underneath the hood of somebody's vehicle and love to see this number right here on the LS heads, because it's right out there in plain sight. And if they've read up anything on some stuff like this, then they know what heads are supposed to be the greatest ones out there, blah, blah, blah. And then they want to try to talk trash on somebody's motor because they can see that it doesn't have what's supposed to be the greatest ones ever. So I think it's kind of fun to jack with people and just take that number off. And if you take the number off, then they have no way of knowing. There's still a number inside the head here, so it's not, you know, running the head to where nobody will know what it is later on down the line. But all the haters out there, they can't just get the little easy to read number out there. So I'm going to go ahead and throw these over on the table and knock this number off real quick too and start messing with people. So right here's that number that I was talking about. This ends up being on the front corner of the passenger side when you got the heads bolted on, or it'll be on the back of the rear on the driver's side. I'm gonna go ahead and just stick the old valve cover up here to keep a little bit of garbage out of the inside, a little less to clean later. And regular old flap wheel, knock her down. So it looks like this when you're all said and done. I like leaving the grinder marks in there just so that I can see their reaction when they see that I grounded off, and then them sitting there trying to figure out whether I'm sandbagging them with a really good head or whether I just didn't want to show off my trash, and they have no answer for what it is, and then they just sit there and question you. So I guarantee you, for $0 and the little tiny bit amount of time that it takes to do that, you won't find a better way to mess with the haters. All right, back to our Innovators West Balancer. It actually comes with a little snout in here that is keyed. Then we could actually have pulled the crank out and keyed the crank and then just been able to slide it right on and use it, but I didn't want to pull the crank out. So I got their little pin kit. Their little pin kit looks basically like this. And we've got our piece here that will actually slide in here, and we're going to use this to drill our holes to be able to pin it. But then it's also going to lock everything in because it has a keyway slot in it. So I think I'll take their little keyway slot, put it in here. I should be able to set this right down on top of there. And push all of it back here to the back. And it's quite a little ways in there, to be honest with you. Now that's up against our crank. And they also send a drill bit that I've already measured off. Just be able to use the little collar that's in there, drill right through it, and then drill our holes and put our 3 pins in. Let me get something to lube this up with before I start drilling. A little shot of some cutting fluid ought to do it. Grab some air, blow this stuff out, and drive our pins in. Alrighty, I think we're ready for some pins. Now we just slide in our nylon spacer behind all of that, and then we put a washer on and throw our harmonic balancer bolt in there, and we're good to go. Love it or hate it, right or wrong, this is our engine for hookers and blow. At least our first one anyways. We'll see how long that lasts, and then I guess when it blows up or don't work anymore, then we'll probably do something different. But for now, that's what we've got. So if you guys want to see how long it lasts, maybe it only lasts the first startup. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But if you guys want to follow along with all that, see how it does, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And then also, if you guys want to, check out the rest of the build over here on this playlist or one of these other videos that YouTube decides to show you. So, I guess that's all I got for you guys on this one. I'll see you on the next one.